Hi, I'm Chidiaku, Marketing Manager at PSI, and I'm being joined by one of our product managers. Please, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. My name is Jan Thiel. I'm product manager for production and logistics of PSImetals. And yeah, I'm glad to introduce one new feature of PSImetals production.
Oh, yeah, and this is a new feature that's coming with the PSImetals release 528, right?
Yes, and it's called scrap tracking, and it's doing just like this. So it is about tracking the production scrap during the production on site. For example, when you're cutting tail scrap or head scrap or trimming. And since this is very valuable material, you're usually collecting this in scrap containers next to the line. And now with this new feature, we are exactly tracking like what kind of scrap was cut. So on one hand, from which mother materials, and on the other hand, also like the chemical composition of it, and then creating a mixed chemical analysis so that the material can be recycled. High grade recycled.
So how is it actually tracking this scrap? How is it actually performing these capabilities?
Yeah. So the first step is to define so-called scrap collection points. These are the locations where the containers are placed. So let's imagine we're having a cutting line where head scrap and trim scrap is collected at one slot and the tail scrap at another one. So the first configuration is to say, okay, at this location, the scrap collection point, usually these scrap types are collected and as the other one, the others. This is the first step. Second is you have to manage the containers. And now the workflow is quite easy. First of all, the relocation of a container to a scrap collection point is booked. And in the system, like relocation or by scanning a QR code on the location in the container. And now the rest happens automatically. So whenever production is booked, the scrap events or production events are interpreted. And we know that this amount of the mother material, for example, the coil, is cut. And since we know which scrap types are collected at a certain location, we can directly link them to the right container. And here we are taking on one hand the mass of the material, the carbon footprint, the product carbon footprint, and we're taking the proportional share, adding it to the scrap batch in the container. And we can also calculate categories, for example, high copper category, if there's a certain material going in, so that in the end, we know the mixed chemical composition of the scrap batch in the container, exactly which pieces are cut from which mother materials, and this can then later be used for calculation in the own mail shop or when selling it.
Okay, that is fascinating if I do say so myself. So can you tell us why? Why are we actually bringing this new feature, the scrap tracking, with this release?
Yes, so like I said in the beginning, scrap is very valuable and will become even more since there's a big need to save energy cost, also to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions. Scrap is getting a much bigger role. And the scrap, which is produced at the site during production, is very high-grade scrap. Mm-hmm. So you could also say like prime scrap. And on one hand, knowing now exactly what is in your container helps you to do a high-grade recycling, also being a very important input to like a calculation to, for example, a tool like Qualizition is doing. And so it really helps, to get your recycling process perfectly calculated and saving emissions and energies in here. And like one example is, for example, this upcoming increase of electric arc furnaces. For example, like currently it's like about 29% of the steel making capacity. It will go up to 2030, about 40%. This is becoming a much higher topic because high-grade scrap is one essential input for this.
Okay, that is fascinating. And I know that we also do things in regards product carbon footprint tracking and also like scrap optimization, raw material optimization with PSImetals, which is another fascinating episode, which you should look forward to seeing. So thank you so much, Jan, for joining us on this episode. And please stay tuned for our other episodes, which you can catch on Spotify and on our LinkedIn profile. So thank you for joining us today, and see you next time.